All right, so the next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna add our colors. So we've mixed our concrete, we've put in our fiberglass reinforcement, okay? We got to our oatmeal type consistency. We have 2 buckets totaling an 80-pound bag, 1 bag in each bucket, both 5-gallon buckets. I have my 5-gallon bucket over here that I keep fresh water in. So what I'm gonna do while I'm doing my mix is I'm just gonna throw, you know, like a heavy cup of water just on the top of each one. It's gonna let it kind of draw down, right? Because the last thing I want is for my concrete to get too dry on me. You know, especially if, you know, the weather plays a big factor. I mean, typically if you're pouring concrete, you want it a little cooler. You know, so you want to be in like the high 50s, low 60s. You know, that's perfect time to really pour concrete. As it starts getting warmer, it makes it a little bit more difficult when you're pouring. Now, adding colors. What I did was here, I designated these 2 buckets because we're gonna change up in both buckets. We're gonna change the color consistency in both so that way we could produce at least 2 different types of samples. So I put a piece of blue tape down onto one bucket, the other bucket has no tape. So when I go to do the forms, whatever form gets poured with that one, I'll make sure I put a piece of blue tape somewhere on the form, on the outside of it, so I know what that is. Then when I go and I write everything down, I will write it on here with my blue tape bucket and my no tape bucket. So the most important thing is you got to remember when you start adding colors and you start doing this type of stuff, you got to think of it like chemistry or like cooking or baking. Okay, everything is precise. You go and you pour a certain color, a certain pattern, something like that, you have to be able to duplicate it. So here it is, I have it, somebody goes, that's great, and then you get back to it and you go, I know I put blue in it, but I can't remember how much blue. Or, you know, did I add a hint of this other color, or did I throw something in to offset it? So for the particular samples that we're pouring, the colors that were requested were more of like a blue, a gray, and a black, okay? So that makes it kind of hard, right? Because when you're doing that, one color can definitely overtake another, okay? But also, it's like blue on black, it makes it kind of hard to see, so you really have to think about the consistency. So I use an iron oxide powder, all right, when I mix in. I prefer using a powder over a liquid. I just find that it mixes better, it takes to the color better, it's pure, it's straight. If you're using a liquid, usually it's gonna have a water base or something with it. I don't have to contend with that. I get myself a good set of measuring spoons. This one happens to be a 2 teaspoon measuring. So I come over to the bucket that has the blue, okay? I sit there, I get that level, and I just drop that in the top, okay? So I don't want to add another color, but I put 2 teaspoons of black in there, okay? So I want to make sure, and it's also important, as crazy as it sounds, that you remember the order in which you put these colors in. It can affect the overall color, okay? Now, I would prefer if I had a base that was white, okay? But the base that I have is gray right now, okay? So that's also something that I have to consider in when I'm doing color. What was the base that I had? So if, for example, you get a white concrete next time, you're not going to make that exact same color. You're going to have to get the same base that you had if you want to make that same sample. So I poured the water on top. You can see in here already, the dust is starting to mix in with the liquid. So slowly at the bottom, I'm gonna run the mixer, okay? And I'm going to pull that in. I'm gonna slow my RPMs down, okay? I'm gonna start driving this in. Okay, So this, so I've pulled all that color. And if you take a look at it, it's got absolutely no change that we can see. So that's the way that you kind of have to experiment. Again, if I had a white base, you would see a change right away. But right now what's affecting me is a gray base. So what am I gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna take another scoop, same size as before, okay, and I'm gonna put that in, okay? And then I'm gonna mark down another 2 teaspoons of black, okay? And then I'm gonna mix that. The frustration that can happen is, because you don't see a color change right away, you just start dumping in bigger scoops, and before you know it, the color's too dominant. I don't wanna get it pure black. I wanna get the black where it's a little bit lighter, so then I can push my blue into it. So we're gonna work with this for a little bit. Once we get the black set, then we'll show you how it goes with the blue.